Okay, so yeah, I guess I'm just going to give you guys an overview of how I use shapes, the features I like in it. There are definitely more features in here than I use, but let me just show you what I do. Uh, and let's actually do this as well. Let's clear this off. So when you first launch shapes, and I'll close this, he when you install shapes, you got a button here. And again, I don't know. Are you guys at all familiar with shapes, or is this just a completely new learning experience for anyone? Because I don't want to go over super basic stuff if everyone is familiar with at least the basics.
Pierre and I are still students and not very at ease with blend shapes.
Okay, okay. So yeah, I'll just start from the beginning. So when you install shapes, it is a plugin that is a paid plugin. So if you go to braverabbit.com, under tools, there is this option for shapes. And here you can, it's possible he's changed a few things. Looks like he's got an evaluation, education version that's only $20, and then the commercial version is $150. Now I bought mine, I don't know, 6, 7 years ago, something like that, and so far he hasn't charged any upgrade fees, even though I bought it in version 1 and now we're in I think he's working on version 6 at the moment. So it's a great tool for managing blend shapes and for being able to manipulate them. So once you download it, install it, you'll get a shelf button like this, and when you click it, it'll launch this UI. And in order to work on a mesh, you have to select the mesh and load it in using this button here. That will, let's actually start a little bit simpler. If I've got just a sphere and I load that up, it'll first give you this warning. You can read over that and see what it's doing. But what it will do initially is load it in, and then if you decide to, for example, here go into edit mode, it will start creating the blend shape node for you. Because once it's just loaded, there's still no history on it, but you can immediately start editing by going into edit mode here. Once you click, you'll see you get these green bars, and it'll go into, it'll give you a sculpting brush that you can start making your blend shapes with right away. If you hit exit, it will create the new blend shape. It'll actually create the blend shape node and create a new target shape. And then you can use this slider to turn that shape on and off. If you've got multiple, so if I go into edit mode again and do a different one, it'll create a new shape. So then depending on which one you have selected, this slider down here at the bottom will affect what you have selected. If you have multiple selected, it will drive both of them at the same time. So that's just the very basic of how to load it in, create a new shape. Now, once you get into that, there are a lot of features to be able to drive blend shapes, to split blend shapes up, and so I'll go into each of those as let's see, as kind of a first step. So let's load up this character that I've got, and I actually have quite a few shapes already built in here, and there's stuff going on. For the moment, don't worry about what any of these like colors or icons mean. Let me see, I've got one shape I wanted to work with, this one. So Modeler gave me this blend shape. Oh, and I guess that's the other thing. Let's do this. So let's say that you're working with a modeler, and they give you a shape, just a blend shape. Say here it is, and you want to add it in to shapes. You can do Maya's version of that, where you go in and add a blend shape here. But Shapes makes it really easy for you to do it as well. So all you need to do is select the shape that you want, the blend shape, and then in here, there's this button right here that allows you to do a bunch of different things. You can add as a new default target. That's just like adding a new target, a new blend shape. So if I were to, it's like the Maya way, where if I grab this guy and then grab the model I want to add it to, this one, and then, deformers, blend shape, add. That's what this button would do, is exactly that, by saying add default target as new default target. Now, let's say that you posed your character, and for the moment I'll just get rid of that. Let's say you pose your character like this, and then you duplicated it out, and then you gave that to a modeler to be able to update, to sculpt, and then you wanted to add it back in. Well, because there's deformers that are moving this, in this case a skin cluster, you'd want to add it back in by saying add as posed target. That will take into consideration any deformations that are happening with skin clusters or other deformers, and it'll only add the deltas, the difference between the shape that it is and the shape that the deformers are creating and what this new blend shape that Modelers has given you is. But you have to have it in the same pose when you do that. So any questions about any of that so far? Am I going too basic, too slow, or are we doing all right so far?
It's a good page.
For now, it's okay for me.
So far, so good?
Thank you. Yeah.
Okay, perfect. So let's see. And then there are a few other options in here. Add current mesh as new target. You know, I honestly have never used this. This one here or this one here. So this one I think just creates an empty target, so nothing has happened to it. I don't know why you'd ever use that. I guess there could be scenarios where you would want it, but I've never used it. I don't even know what this one does. Never used it. These two guys down here are if you've already got a blend shape in place and you've got like connections made to it. This will let you update an existing blend shape rather than adding in a new one. So let's say I've already got this one. Let's see, this guy here that's already got connections, things that are driving it. I could select this one and then select the model that a modeling artist has given me, or that I've sculpted myself in, say, ZBrush. And then once I have this selected and that selected, I could come in here and say update. So it's replace this existing one, or if it needs to be posed, then you update the posed. So depending on if it's just a default or a posed shape. So any questions about any of that? No?
Not yet. Thank you.
Okay, perfect. So then if you have a shape that you want to drive, let's say I've got a slider here that this goes from 0 to 10, and when that gets to 10, I want this to fire 100%. So there's lots of different ways you can do this, and within Shapes, he gives you a couple of different options to do it. So you have this section here, Shape Driver. Oh, and I guess before I get into that, there are these different like drop-down menus, and if you install Shapes and you don't see any of those, or don't see one of them, up here at the top are different buttons to hide different parts of the UI. So if I unselect these, you'll see that they disappear down here. So right now we want, and if you hover, you can see the driver and combo. So we want the driver and combos. This is the thing to be able to drive your shapes. And we can talk about the rest of these here soon. But in order to drive this shape with this node, what you can do is you have this selected and you can click driver. And so that will add this guy in there. You can also type it. I think you could drag and drop it in there from the outliner, though I can't say I've ever done that. Let's see if we could do that. If I clear this, drag and drop. Yeah, I think that gives the full path. But you load it in, and then you pick your driver type. You can do a direct connection. That's just saying whatever the attribute value, and you pick an attribute later on. Whatever the attribute value is, just be connected directly. You can do a set-driven key, and then you've got these other options. These two here, the vector angle and then the RBF, those are custom plugins that come with shapes, but just know that if you use either of these, that the rig will require those plugins in order to work. He does offer them as free distribution, so you can give them to your animators. And I haven't used either of them because I tried to avoid giving animators rigs that require plugins, but you definitely can do that. And then Maya's built-in pose interpolator. This RBF solver is his version of the pose interpolator that he wrote before Maya released the pose interpolator. So just so you know what those. And then this is it's a plugin to get angles. I haven't used it. I'm sure it's super useful. Just never. I try to avoid custom plugins avoid having my rigs dependent on custom plugins is what I meant. So alternatively, you can drop this down and you can pick from a driver that you've already got driving one of your attributes. This is just a list of all the ones that are currently driving, but you don't need to use that. So in this case, we'll say set-driven key. And then what it does is it will look at the node that you have as the driver, and it will find an attribute with the greatest value on it. So because I've already got this this control here with a set to a value of 10, I pulled it all the way up, it'll say, oh, okay, all the other attributes are like either 1 or 0, so that one's the highest, so it will automatically load translate Y, and it'll put 0 to whatever that max value that you put in there. So it tries to guess what you're trying to do. If, for example, I put this, or let's say I decide I want to select this one, because this is at 0, and I select it, you'll see that it said, well, probably translate Y because it's the only attribute that's unlocked, but I set it to like it's at a value of 0. So in this case, you need to come in here and add the max value, right? And then you can pick the interpolation type. Its default is linear, but you could pick these other options. That's just what the curve, the driven key curve will look like. And then you've also got your infinity, whether it's pre, post, or both. And again, that's none by default. So once you have all that and you know that this is all set how you want, you just click this first box right here. It'll ask, are you sure you want to do it? You say okay, and it's set up. So with all that, that was a lot of explanation to get it to work. But to show you like how fast it is, if if I wasn't explaining it, all you'd have to do is select this guy, if it were down here, pull it up, click here, add that as a driver, pick what you want, set driven key, and then click here, and now it's set up.
Oh, I got a quick question then.
I can't hear you like at all. I hear little.
Wait, can you hear me now?
Barely.
No?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's better.
Is that any better? Okay, cool. So what if though, like, you do this, and then the client goes, "Hey, well, can we actually make it to where I can push it beyond, make it, continue and just break it almost? Can we go back and add it to where it's like that infinite, where
Yeah.
infinity will allow us to add that in?"
Yeah. So all you have to do, so let's say they later come on and you say, yeah, I want that smile to be pushed. You just select it. It'll auto-load all this stuff, and you just change it here.
Cool.
Change it to post. And now if I come in here and change my limit information, translate, there we go. If I turn that off, then this should be able to push beyond, and you can see it, keeps going.
Cool.
So, yeah, it's just in selecting this, it will change so you can see here as I click each one of these, it updates down here. So if later on you realize, oh, you know what, I actually only want this to go to 5, you select it, hit 5, and it's changed. Make sense?
That's cool.
Let's see. Then, in my case, I might want to split this from one side to the other. Actually, do you want me to? So that's region maps and being able to split it. I can talk about more sophisticated ways of driving this, or I can go into the region maps. What would you guys prefer to start? Should I stick with the different types of drivers?
Yeah, I'm up for
Okay.
the different ways of drivers. What do you all think?
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Yeah, good. All right, so then now I'm going to just kind of do this ugly-like, but we'll let's say that you're here and you animate this guy, and then at the same time you decide to pull this in for whatever reason. You see, oh, those two shapes together don't look great. So you want to create a corrective shape that would fire when both of those shapes have been activated, right? So what you can do is when both of those are activated, you just say go into edit mode. It isolates by default. Let's see. Let me actually... you have to do it on the shape, which is right here. Shift P. There we go. Okay, so I will use just my sculpting tools. What's going on? There we go. Okay. So you might come in here and, oh boy. I don't know if you guys experience this ever with Maya, where it'll like make your faces disappear. But let me try a few things to fix that.
Maya at its best.
Maya at its best. That is, that's not a shapes problem. What was going on there? That's definitely a Maya problem.
It's always Maya problem.
It's always Maya, Remy. It's always Maya.
Yeah. Okay. Not sure what's going on there, but let's say you come in here and you smooth this out and you say, all right, that's more or less what I want when those two blend shapes fire. You exit and you'll get this new shape. So then you could call this like smile lip. Oh, we'll just say smile open corner in. Whatever. You just name it something. And so you want that to fire when both of those, when both the smile is up and the lip corner in is on. So the way you do that is you pick the two shapes. So this one, and I have to remember where that. Oh, and I guess here's the time to talk about these filters up here. I actually don't know what each of them do. I looked into it once, but basically you can select these and it'll show with a little icon what things have values on them. So by clicking that, I instantly see, okay, this one has a value and this one has a value. And because it's green, I know it's a value of 1. If I change this to something lower, you'll see it changes to yellow. And if it goes into a negative number, it'll change to red. And if it's pushed beyond its max value, it will, I think it turns blue. So you can look into each of these. I think he has documentation on his site somewhere about what each of these do. And if you hover over them, so yeah, so if I click this, it filters this to only active shapes, which I think, oh man, I'm not entirely sure what that, yeah, sorry, I guess I'm not sure what each of these do. But definitely for this, what I'm using, I want to see which shapes have values. So to create that combo shape, you just select the 2 shapes that you want to have affect it, and then you select the corrective, and then you click on the middle one where you'll see it says create combo. And if I click that, it'll say, do you want to create it? And I say yes. And then you'll see that it creates, it adds these icons. Basically, this one means that it's a driver for a combo shape. This one's a driver for a combo shape, and this one is being driven as a combo shape. So now, when you drive those off and on, so you can see if I select this here, if you watch this slider, as I move it up and down, you can see that it's turning on this corrective shape because both this shape and this shape are being fired. So if I turn either of these off, it will turn off. Oh, wrong one. I think it's this guy. Yeah, you can see now it's turning off. So that's, and you can have that, you can have, any number of correctives be used to drive this combo shape. So any questions there?
No, it's perfectly clear for me.
Cool. Anyway, that makes it really easy. Oh, and I guess here's the other thing. Let's say that you have a bunch of shapes that are drivers in a combo shape, and you decide, you know what, I really don't want this particular shape to be affecting it. You can just click on this, and you'll see that there's an edit. So you can edit that combo shape, and it'll show you like this green one and this green one are driving this red one. So you could say, you know what, this one here, let's remove it, and it will. And then you hit the checkbox, and it will remove that from the calculation. So, or you hit X, and it'll just ignore what you asked it to do. So that's how combo shapes work. There are other kind of cool tricks you can do, like adding in shape helper attributes, which is basically like an empty target that you can drive. I guess this gets into a little bit more complex type setups, where if I add that, this doesn't drive any shape. It's just an attribute that you could have where you could say, all right, I want this one, and this one to be a combo driver for that. So if I do this, now it's a combo driver. So then you could have this one drive other attributes. So it's a way of kind of consolidating multiple shapes into one driver. Or you want to drive this with, say, an attribute that's just like seal lips might be a good example, where you want, when you open the jaw, you want the lips to say sealed. So you could have this be the seal lips attribute. Oh my gosh. Oops. Right? And then you could drive that with an attribute, but it's not firing any blend shape. But then this could be the thing that drives your corrective shapes for when the jaw opens. And so it only fires when the jaw opens and when the seal lips is on. So anyway, this, let's see right here, the helper attributes, that's what you can use those for. So from there, I say, why don't we go into region maps and splitting out splitting out the shapes into multiple regions. This is what I use anytime I'm doing like a fax-based setup. Then I tend to use region maps quite a bit. And then even when it's not a fax-based thing, if it's just that I want to split a shape from one side to the other, just split it in half, I'll use this approach as well. So for that, we need the region maps part of the UI, and that's this button here. So if I click that, it'll add, oh, I'm sorry, not that one. This one. My goodness. Set drive in. Region maps. I'm sorry. There it is, this guy. So with region maps, when you first start out, you won't have anything in this field down here. These are just ones that I've already created. But the way this works is it allows you to specify a region and then be able to split that region out into multiple blend shapes. So the way you start this is you click this little button here. That'll open up a region map settings window, and you are allowed up to 6 regions per region map. And if you need more than 6, then what I've done is I will actually have 6 main regions and then split the main regions up into smaller regions with a second map. And I can go into that further if you guys want. But to start, you just create a name. And for this, we could just say, for what I'm needing to do, I'd call it split. And I've actually already got one called split, but I'll just say new split. And I usually have this checked when I'm working. He has it off by default, but I'll show you what that does later on. Then you pick your region. So here we could just say, we could say top and bottom. My goodness. And do you want to split it left and right? So you could say, yes, I want to split it left, I want to split it right. And then the blend here indicates how much you want that split to affect one side or the other. So we'll just put those at 1 and hit set. So now it's loaded that in here. It hasn't saved it down here. That only happens once you actually start painting. So we'll go into paint mode by clicking this. Oh, I think you actually have to have a shape selected. So let's go to this one again. So if I go into paint mode, there we go. Again, it'll isolate. So you're in paint mode, but you have to select which region you want to paint in. So here you can see there's top and bottom. So if I say top, it'll go black and you can start painting. So we'll say we want the top region, and I'll just paint the whole top region of the head. And if I was doing this for real, I would spend a decent amount of time making sure that this looked nice with a nice fade. Get, the inside of the mouth. Oops, sorry. The inside of the mouth. And then the way this works differently than skin weights. So if I come over to this side and paint weights, I can come back and you can see that it looks the same. But if I were to paint on this side up here, what it actually will end up doing is it looks like it's painted this to 100%, but when I click over here, there's still weight here. So what it actually does is it says, well, whatever you painted and whatever was there, kind of get the average between the two. So it put this at 50%, and if I come back here, now this is at 50%. So it's just a little bit different type of algorithm for how that works, how it distributes weights when you're painting between two different regions. So that is something to be aware of. If you want this to come back up to 100%, you can't just paint like this. You actually have to come over here and remove any weight that you want. and then come here and make sure you paint it back in. But once you get, let's say I come in here, I'll paint the bottom. Come out here. And you don't actually have to cover everything. It's I usually do, but you don't have to. So now you've got these two regions, and let's say you've painted them how you want. You can check to see with these two buttons over here. This one here. Oh, you gotta. Let's see. This one here. More than one up. Oh, shoot. I guess. I think
You have more one object with the same name.
yeah, I think I made a mistake there somewhere, but it's all right. We'll make sure this is loaded. Smile, open corner in. Oh no, we want this one. Okay, so, oh shoot, oh no, there it is. All right, so because I was painting there, it saved it. Now it's not loaded because I reloaded shapes. So if I click on this one and click this button here, it should load it back in. Huh, nose split. All right, well, this is embarrassing. It's not working. Let's see. Let's actually go like this.
I guess what
Questions so
might
far
have
while I'm
happened-
reloading this?
When all else fails, let's just blame Maya. That's the best thing. I
Yeah,
can
it's
do.
probably Maya. Totally
But
Maya.
It's totally a Maya's fault. If it doesn't crash on you at least once or twice a day, you're not working fast.
Yes, exactly.
So what might have happened if it worked first time? It's a way for us to see the combination of every thing you painted next to each other.
Yes, that's what that would have done.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's see. It would have showed the combination. So this one here shows the combination, and then this one here shows what doesn't have weight applied to it.
Okay.
So let's see. New split. There we go. Okay, something just got screwed up in the scene. I would suggest saving often, like when things are working well, save. As applies to Maya always. This is no exception. This tool works 99% of the time. Every so often I get little bugs like that just have issues. So just be aware. It's not perfect. So yeah, if I click on this one here, it should great. Let's see. No matches name. Well, this
And
is
at this
really
point, we'll just blame Ben. Ben, it's your fault. Way to go, Ben.
this is really behaving in a fun way. Let's just try my other split. That is really weird. Let's see. Hold on.
What's up? You guys already started?
Yes.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I thought it's 11:30. I mean 6:30 for you.
It was, I guess, if it's 6:30 your time, we started at 5:30.
Fair enough,
Why,
it's being
man?
recorded,
The
so-
event time was like 6:30 on French. No, it's 11:30. It's 11 p.m. in my time.
Oh dear. So I have recorded, and I'll send that recording out. And then any questions you have right now, feel free to jump in and ask. And the last couple minutes, we've been dealing with me trying to figure out why it's not working at all. So no worries there.
Hooray for random
Okay.
bugs.
I think I didn't miss much. I'm sorry for the bizarre view and camera angle.
Oh no, you're fine. Let's see.
Okay.
Good beard, good sir.
And let's just try this to see if it works. There we go. Okay, so that worked. All right, so once you get your weights all painted and looking right, yeah, you can view them with this button, or see what isn't assigned with that one. And I guess just to do a real quick recap, here I came in here. Oh yeah, that's right. Went into paint mode, and you could jump between the different regions. You come to this one, and something seems to be broken with this. I don't know what's going on, so we will move on. That usually works. It worked for me just the other day, so I might have broken something in my scene that's causing that to happen. But once you get it how you want, then I'll load up the split one that I already have. So for this, let's see, the smile that we were doing. If you have smile selected, you can click this button here. That will split out that shape. So you still have the original shape, and the one below it will be split based on the region maps that you painted. So in this case, you can see that like it's looking a little bit funny because of how when I was in here, I said split, and we set this to 1. Well, it means that 1 unit this direction is how far that will fade in the when it blends. So if I put this down to like 0.2, set, I can select this top one again and hit split. And now we can see, you can see that it didn't go very far this way, and now it's a little bit harsh. So this is a little bit of a trial and error. Oh, and this parent to source shape, when that's selected, it means it'll parent these new shapes under the source geometry when it's split out. That's what that means. So I usually have it selected just to keep it organized over here. So yeah, I might put this at like 0.5 this time, hit set, and split it out again. And I might say, yeah, that looks good enough. So now, based on this region map, and all this region map actually is, this split that I did before we started this one is, if I go in and edit, I just painted it 100% to white, and I'm using a split. So it says, take everything, split it in half. But if I wanted to split the top and bottom, which I have for this one, I could load that one up. And you can see that I've painted the top. Oh, it looks like I screwed it up. And the bottom. There we go. Now it's working. So I painted the top and bottom. So if I have a shape that I only want the top on one of them and the bottom on another, and I have an example of that somewhere in here. Let's see. Lip depressor. Here we go.
When
Top and
you
bottom.
flood the red part, was it intentional? because I think this is the issue. You don't anymore have the top part alone because you flooded it.
You mean this one here?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess right now it seems to be working. So if I have this one, I click on the edit mode.
Okay.
I can then click this one to see this region, and then this one to see that region. Yeah, see, this is, I think, the problem. It's I need to remove weight here. I think I screwed it up earlier before this. So remove this weight here, and then come to this one. So I'm not worried too much about what this one looks like right now. But once you get the weights how you want it, you go out, then you can do the split. So here you can see that I split this top, the right top, the right bottom, and the left bottom. So Modeler just gave me this as one shape. But I wanted to be able to control it in those regions. So this way a modeler can really just give you a full expression, and you can break it out into its individual pieces. So I usually will do this with the brows, where they'll give me like brows up. And then I'll split that into 3 or 4 sections with the region map. So I'll have one that's the whole head is like the default. Let's say one of them is the whole head, and then I'll have another one that's like the inner brow, the middle brow, kind of the outer, and then the more out, or something like that, where I'll split it up with that, and I'll paint that evenly on both sides, and then I'll have it again in here where I'm saying split. So that way, from painting 3 or 4 region maps, I can then split out 6 shapes that can each individually be driven, or you can drive the top shape. In this case, I don't have that, but brow. So then here, so brow lower. For this, I only have one shape. I haven't split this one up, but I could, and I usually do split the brows up, the brows down, into multiple regions. If, for example, you have one region map that has lots of regions, but for a particular shape. Oh, you have a question? I think you might be muted.
Rex, I think your mic's not working, man. We can't hear you. Nope.
Hello, can you hear me now?
There we go.
There we
Now we
go.
can hear you.
Okay, thank you. So I had a question, maybe you have answered it or not, I don't know. So how am I animating it? Like how am I animating the plane ships?
Yeah. So I can do just a real quick explanation of that.
Is it connected to any controllers?
Yeah, so I have it on controllers.
Okay,
And then the controllers are
that's
driving
all
the
I
blend
need.
shapes.
My second question is it FBX exportable for games?
It depends on how you do it, but yes. I mean,
Like,
if,
the problem I'm facing right now as an animator, rigger actually, so the problem I'm facing is I'm splitting the face and the body in 2 different meshes, skin meshes, right?
Right.
So that means 2 individual draw calls for in-game perspective. So can I do it in one single skin mesh?
rather than having the head and the body.
And the body separated.
Yeah, so the way that shapes works is it only works with deltas. So when you add a new, so if I were to take this guy and duplicate it and unlock,
And
I
I
would
need
add that
to
as
know
a
how they're
shape.
storing the data.
It stores
The shapes
it within
there.
the blend shape, within the blend shape node.
Okay.
So, yeah.
So I can expose the parameters for, like, if I import a game engine, I can have the parameters exposed, like the in our situation, we don't animate the blend shapes. The blend shape is controlled by the via a script by the programmers.
Oh, okay. So in that case, you would need to figure out a way, if you wanted to
They can
expose it.
expose the default skin shapes, like the blend shapes, the default ones of Maya. They can use that. But I don't know if this one is usable or not. I'm just asking.
What game engine are you using?
Unity, because it's a mobile platform.
Okay, so I mean, I'm not super familiar with game engines in general.
Okay.
But my guess is what you'd need to do is, within the game engine, you'd need to be able to drive the actual attribute on the blend shape node itself. Because all of the connections that you do within shapes are direct connections, set-driven keys, other deformers, which I assume that those don't transfer into a game engine. You'd need to have them driven. You need to like do that setup. So if you were in Unreal, you'd probably use blueprints. In Unity, I'm not sure what it is, but I'm sure there's some way to say this control within Unity drive this blend shape.
Is this FBX exportable? That's all I need to know.
Yeah,
if I exported FBX, the parameters will be the same.
Yeah, so if I select this guy here, Shapes is more of a manager of blend shapes, and it doesn't do anything. Once you're done with Shapes, unless you've picked a custom driver, like the weight driver or the vector angle or the RBF weight driver, unless you're using one of these two, everything that it does uses the vanilla Maya node system. So if those nodes won't transfer into Unity, then I mean, that's not a shapes thing though. But yeah, so when you're done, you have a blend shape node that just has connections. So if you don't set up any of these connections, these will go into Unreal or Unity or whatever, as it would with any other blend shape.
Now I get it. Thanks.
Yep, absolutely. Any other questions?
No, not from me. That's all I need to know about steps.
Perfect. Any questions about the region maps and how they're used or what? Any further explanation? Did I explain that well?
Actually, I missed it. I missed the whole thing as I messed up with the time zones.
And again,
so
you can go back and
watch I'm gonna watch the recordings and then I'm gonna ask you separately.
Absolutely. And if you need, you and I could jump on a call to answer any questions that you
I would be glad for that. Thank you.
For sure.
So to clarify with the regions, it allows you to basically take your blend shapes and break it into sub-regions itself. So like the eyebrows, you can do one full, but then you can do left and right, but then those left and rights can have like a inner, mid, and outer, correct?
Correct.
Now, does this take, like, from what I'm understanding of how Shapes is creating those deltas, at the end of this, will it delete those deltas into one blend shape? And that way we wouldn't have like multiple deltas out there?
I'm not 100% sure I understand what you mean by that.
I'm referring to like in like the normal case, we have to create multiple blend shapes, and then we bring them into one blend shape that has all those drivers out there, and then we connect that into like a main output blend shape that has all the drivers. With the ones that we built at the end of this get deleted and gone, so we just have like one that has all the drivers still in there.
Yeah, so this that is how this works by default. So maybe my complex setup here is confusing a few things. Let me just do this real quick, and we'll start with just a sphere, and maybe this will answer the question. So if I have this guy and I load it in and I edit this, something like that. Then I decide to create a region map, and we'll say, doesn't matter. I'll say top 1, bottom, set. We'll go in and paint this guy. Say this is the top. And here you can actually select vertices. Oops. There's another thing you can do. Select vertices, right click on here, and you can, there's a bunch of different options for doing things in here. So in this case, I'm just going to flush vertices with white. And then if I go back to it, you can see that it did it. And then this one, I will just invert that selection and flush with white. Oops. That is not what I meant. There we go. Flush with black. And back over here. Okay, there we go. Right? So we can see that's all working. And then I'll go out, and here I want to split it. Oh, and one other thing that is super useful. Let me delete these. We'll just call this thing. In here, you've got these names, but what you can do if you right click, it gives you a couple options of like things to autofill with, so you don't have to type it. But if you use this shape, and this you can place wherever you want. You can place it at the beginning or the end. What it does is it says grab the name of the parent and put it in here wherever shape is. So if I hit set and then I split that, you'll see that it did left because it's split, top because that's the region, and then thing because that's the shape that I split it from.
Yeah.
So now, I guess to go back to your question, right now there's only a single blend shape in here with all those shapes in here. It hasn't created, it only works with delta, so it doesn't like duplicate it. But when you, I guess, if I go in here and go into edit mode, you'll see that it hides the original, creates a duplicate, lets you sculpt on that, and then when you go out of edit mode, so if I do something with this, I go out of edit mode, it'll remove that one. Well, it'll add it in as a blend shape target, and then it removes it. So it only works with deltas.
Okay.
Does that
Okay,
answer?
That answers my question. That makes a lot of sense.
Okay. So then, so then you've got these region maps. But yeah, let's say that you have, I've had this where I'll paint a region map where I'll do a region for the brows, a region for the eyes, for the nose, and then for the mouth. And those are just like the broad regions. And then I'll do a more specific region for like the individual pieces in the brow. So that'll be a completely different region map. Right? And so you'll end up reusing these region maps on several different places, several different shapes, and you may not need every region that it spits out. Does that make sense? So you may say, actually, I only want, I want to use this region map because it's painted how I want, and I want the top left and right, but I don't want the bottom left and right. They're not useful. Maybe the top blend shape only affects the top, these two regions, and this one isn't affected at all on this particular shape. So what you can do is you can delete it. Oops, that is not what I meant. You can delete them by clicking this button. So those two are gone. And if you've got a whole bunch of shapes, you don't necessarily want to have to like split this back out and re-delete those shapes again. So if you right click on here, there's the extract to existing. So if I split this again as is, you'll see it'll add in, it'll replace the existing ones, but then it'll add in the ones that I already deleted. But I may not want those ones to come back. So rather than having to delete them every time, instead you right click and say extract to existing, and it'll only update these existing nodes. rather than re-extracting new ones, the ones that I've already deleted. Let me see. Anything else with? Yeah. Any other questions with region maps? Like it's one of those things where there are different tricks and techniques you can use them for. Like once I've extracted these ones, I could then use a separate region map. So I've used the split on that. I could then use load this guy up. I think I've got some corrupted region maps. I could load up a different region map and split this one further. Like you can continue splitting them as much as you want. So you create a whole bunch of different region maps, split it how you need. But any other questions that you guys have about how region maps works?
One, just double checking, like with the left and right, is that automatic based on the projection of the front or side cameras, or is that already preset there?
So it's not based on, it's not a like a camera projection. It is left right based on world space, and I believe it's going from like left and right, positive and negative X.
Okay.
Though
yes.
I do, let's see. So he has some symmetry tools. I haven't looked into the symmetry tools as much as I probably should, but he has like symmetry mapping. I think it might also look at like topology. I think there's settings to say split it based on topology, but I could be wrong about that. Something that's worth looking into. I know that if you create a blend shape, let's say this guy here, let's actually create a more useful blend shape for this example. So let's say I've gone in here and I've created a blend shape that's like this. And this could be like an elbow, but you've made the corrective for. Well, then you can click on this guy here, and there's a create opposite. And if you have it named properly, so you could say like left elbow, and then if the drivers on here are named properly, where you have it left elbow control or whatever, where it's using a good side identifier, then you can come in here and say create opposite, and it'll create the opposite shape. And if it's connected, it'll reconnect everything up for you, so that you only have to basically build one side and then say create opposite.
That's a time saver right there.
Yeah. And there are, let me see, I'm trying to remember where this is. He has, it might be this guy. Yeah, okay, here it is. So if you come to this little gear icon here, click on that, it'll bring up the preferences. Inside the mirror tab, he has all the different like side identifiers that he came up with. If yours doesn't fit in this, you can just add it. The thing is it's like these are lists that are identical lengths, and it's just matching them up by index. So it'll say, all right, I see that you've got L underscore as your side identifier. So what's the matching item in the index, the same index in the other side? So that's how it's doing it. And I've even had it where I'll name this shape with like left L underscore elbow, but then the driver is like named something else for whatever reason, but it's still using one of the side identifiers in here, and it'll still figure that out.
You can see in that one as well, I think in the options section that is visible right now, you can set which axis is used for that purpose.
Yeah, right here. So I don't know. Let's actually try it. Let's try the z-axis. If I say close and I want to, let's go like this. Let's grab this guy, and we'll just make it bigger. Boop. So that's the blend shape. So now if we want to split this, I assume it's now going to split it on the z-axis instead of the x-axis. So if we give that a try. Top. So if we do top and top, no, we want top and bottom. So you see that's on the on the x-axis, sorry, the z-axis, left and right. Whereas if I were to go back and change this to the x-axis and split this, it's now doing it on the x-axis. So yes, that's how you change that. But it's for sure by default working in world space, but I think there might be a way to do it based on your topology rather than just simply world space.
I've got a question about the topology. Do you specify, if it were using the topology, do you have to specify middle edge?
I think it tries to guess a middle edge, but you can specify.
Because if you don't specify a middle edge, I think even the most efficient algorithm would be for 10,000 polys, it would be like factorial 10,000, which would be hundreds of thousands of billion years of computation.
Yeah.
So I doubt that it would be on topology if you don't specify a middle edge.
I guess what I'm saying is I think it tries to guess what your center line is when you load the mesh in the first time. So it sets it, and then you can say, no, that's not actually the center line. Here's the center line. But yeah, so you can see full mirror across line of symmetry. So yeah, so it does have a line of symmetry. I'm just trying to remember how you set the line of symmetry.
I would be really interested in knowing how it finds the line of symmetry if you don't set it yourself.
My guess is what it does is, and I could be wrong, and I could ask. So, and any of you guys can reach out to the developer. His name is Ingo. He's super responsive, yeah, so you could talk to him. I think what it likely does is it looks at the axis and say, okay, you're on the x-axis, so pick a random edge that's as close to this axis and facing that direction as you can. That's probably all he's doing. And it if it gets it right, great. If not, then you just got to set it yourself.
Okay, gotcha.
If I had to guess, he's doing something like that, but I am guessing.
It's exactly the same. Like if it's doing correctly automatically. Like there might be have any guys used the voxel? Like Maya has a feature that you can replace the model with a box, just a primitive box. I don't know if you guys used it or not. Like he can just replace the actual model into some miniature boxes to average the size of what it has or it is right now. So
you mean the bounding box?
Yeah, the bounding box type, but actual boxes, not like the visual boxes. I used it on some places, but I don't know how. I totally forgot how to do it. But maybe he is just creating a bounding box and making out an average out of it, because for making an average of a box is far more easier than a complex model.
Yeah. I mean, he could be doing a lot of different things. I'm not sure what it is.
Yeah,
so
it depends on how smart the algorithm is.
I'm trying to remember how to set the line of symmetry. I'll probably have to look that up because I don't remember off the top of my head. And he has changed his UI several times, and so I used to know, and I don't anymore. But I would assume it would be somewhere in here, but I'm not seeing it. Hotkeys, global. I should probably look over all these again. Oh, here for your region map. So if you remember when we came in here and I right-clicked, there were all these options here as like defaults that you could just quickly go in there so you're not having to type. He's got them right here, so you could put your own in there that will show up in this section. So
I also had during this exchange of questions a new one that been added, because I see that the way the algorithm calculates the weights of the splits is different from what we are used when we paint weights. Mm-hmm. But I don't see, and I hope it exists, another visuals about the weights, because I don't really like the precision of the blending from black to white. I rather use the color one.
Yeah. So that is there. That was actually one that I didn't like either, and I requested it, and he put it in. So,
Wow.
let's see. So let's see. If I go in here and go into this guy, you can. Let's see.
Second one.
Toggle
Double color ramp.
color ramp. Oh, and these are here. There we go.
Oh, nice. Nice.
So
Thank you.
You can do that, and that's usually what I have by default. So, yeah. Let's see.
So I just looking into the documentation. It says it's from topology, but it doesn't precise anything. Though it mentions that apparently it crashes if you use a model that has over 35k polygons. So if you do, you need to disable it first.
Gotcha.
Which makes sense because it would probably just break your computation time.
Yeah, that makes sense. So, yeah. Any other questions so far? Like, and I mean, I can just keep on going. Like, there's more stuff to explain in here. I know we've been going a little over an hour, but
If you're up for it, I say keep on going. This is amazing.
I would say keep on going, but maybe people are here for way too long. Like take a break, or for some people, I don't know. I'm okay. I'm late already.
and again, I've got this recording, so I'll share it at the end.
Yeah, I know. That's the best thing. That even if I did miss it, you guys have recorded it. I'm so grateful.
What we could do is we could just set up another time to do a +2 of continuing to talk about shapes and how it goes. If everyone's like, this is a lot of information to take in, and they want to process it, and then next time we go even further into the program.
Yeah, why don't we do that? Why don't you guys? I mean, does everyone here actually own shapes?
Yeah.
Some.
I don't, but I just looked at it, and there is like a version to like try it out for the evaluation version, and then the private and educational are like £20. So
yeah, it's really not.
I hope
it's really not
that's part
expensive.
of this. So.
I showed this earlier. So yeah, it's $20 US dollars, or 150 for the commercial. And I said this earlier, but I paid
It's
that
not about
the
the amount of money. The problem is we need to like call the banks and have like 2 or 3 days prior advance knowledge to them. Like I need to buy something that's $20, and then I have to wait 7 days to confirm them, and then this is a hassle. This is a freaking hassle to buy something online.
Oh dear.
I'm considering using this now for one of my rigs that is like due next week for university.
Yeah, I mean, Shapes is one of those tools that I think every rigger should have and use. It's there's a lot of features that you can get in vanilla Maya. Region maps is definitely not one of them. You'd have to do some crazy stuff to get that to work. But I tell you, it saves me so much time.
I was about to say, right now I really love the fact that I don't have to make so many extra blend shape heads and just start clean up from that pipeline, like on the far side of Maya, and then have to bring it back.
Yeah.
That's already, like, I have, by the time I'm done, there's like 200 extra faces over there that I have to condense down. It's like, yeah.
Yeah, and the nice thing, and you can do this within vanilla Maya as well, but they actually have a way of, if you say, you know what, I actually want to extract these back out to models, you can just select them, and I think it's just in here, extract. So if I click that, it will, oh, actually that'll just, oh, no, I guess it did. Let me see. Maybe it only does the first one, so you have to do it one by one. But yeah, so you can extract out the different shapes without having to like fire them and then duplicate the mesh. It'll do that for you. So yeah, you can see there. So yeah.
Does it? I might have missed this earlier. So does it automatically connect upwards in like when you use certain controls? to like if you select all the controls underneath, it goes for the upper version, or it doesn't really need that either though if you split it correctly. I'm just realizing as I'm saying this.
As far as drivers, let me see.
Yeah, but yeah, if it's like split out, it doesn't really need that because all the values are correct and work with each other to create that final shape, which doesn't need a corrective then.
Yeah, so if you painted your weights right, where it's you have all weight basically go into all of the regions, and you don't have any leftover weight, because this doesn't normalize like skin weights. Like you can have a vertice with no value and it won't go to anywhere. So if you have the maps painted so that all the weight is going to one shape or another, and you extract them all out, if you fire them all at once, it'll be the same as if you fired the original shape. Is that
exactly?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then as far as hooking up the controls, like if you've extracted these out, they're just new targets. It doesn't auto connect them to anything. You'd have to connect those as well.
Good.
Good. Anyone else? Other questions? There are a few more features. Maybe we go over these next time. But there is, so if I close these, there's a section for a driven set. I've never used it. I don't know what it is. I'd have to look into it myself. I remember looking at it once thinking, oh, that looks cool. And I just haven't had the need. There is shape weights, which is just your blend shape. Like it's a manager for painting your deformer weights, and a couple of tools for exporting them, importing them, transferring them, mirroring them, inverting them, all of that. You can do that with this shape weights section. We've got region maps, which we already did, and then the animation. This one is more for like shot fixing. So if you've got a rig that's been animated, and you want to then go in and correct some shapes, some deformation shapes, this allows you to quickly do keyframes on your blend shapes and like sculpt them in the scene. So that's a pretty decent one. There are better tools out there for that type of thing, but if you just need something quick and simple, this one works great. And then there are the shape driver. That's just the driver that we looked at the beginning. So yeah, again, we can go into this a little bit further next time. I can dig into whatever this driven set thing is. And then, yeah, if you guys want to look into it and then come back with any questions, we can go into it further.
That sounds awesome.
But anything else before we call it a day? Or a night for some of us, some of you?
Not related to the blend shape tutorial, but more so for events like this. Would you all be all right if I take a screenshot of all of us here so I can sort of promote more like this? If you guys want more events like this for, tutorials, walkthroughs, how things are done. And I'm loving how this has already grown so much with a lot of other people. So I want to try to get this out there to those who are on Facebook still, but not in the Discord group, because this would be a huge resource for other people.
Wait, there's a Facebook group?
There is. That's the thing. It's a mixture between there's a Facebook group and then there's a Discord group, and trying to get the families together, it all depends on where it all goes. So trying to get.
I actually came from Facebook. Now I don't use Facebook anymore.
Right.
At all. just this. So.
Just this.
So if you guys are okay with that, if you are able to, if you want to show your face, your morning face or not, I just want to grab a screenshot and post that to like the Instagram, to Facebook, and to the
I'm
Twitter
just going to stop the recording then, if we're good with that.
Yeah.